and the judges can introduce themselves.
Hi, congratulations, Nevada, on making it to the We the People National Finals. That's a tremendous accomplishment. My name is Ben Glickman. I work for the California Attorney General's Office, and I'm also an alumnus of this program. So I participated in the national finals for California back in 1995. And just one tip, if you guys get stumped on anything, just hold really still and we'll think your Zoom froze.
My name is Ali Khan. I am an attorney in Chicago. Like Ben, I am an alum of the program representing Illinois at the national competition back in 1998. And also, I know how much work goes into this, so congrats on being here.
Let me share my congratulations as well. I'm Dan Taubman. I'm a senior judge on the Colorado Court of Appeals in Denver, Colorado. I'm not an alum of the We the People program like my fellow judges, but I have worked with We the People for a long time. And I look forward to hearing your presentation.
If you'd please introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. We are Reno High School's Unit 3. My name is Emma Peak, and I will be attending the University of Nevada.
My name is Owen Watson, and I will also be attending the University of Nevada.
My name is Soha Rayhan, and I will be attending the University of Nevada.
And my name is Maitani Wooden, and I too will be attending the University of Nevada. Our unit coach is Dr. Matthew Oakes, and our teacher is Mr. Richard Clark.
Oh, you're muted.
Where is the University of Nevada? Which city? Okay, staying close. All right. If you're ready, we'll get going. The question should be no surprise. It's number 2. There is nothing I dread so much as a division of the Republic into 2 great parties, each arranged under its leader and in opposition to each other. What issues led to the formation of the original political parties? To what extent have those issues persisted in American political parties? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of a unified or divided government? Whenever you're ready.
The problem is not division, but partisanship, advantage seeking by private clubs whose central goal is to win political power. In his 2012 article, former Representative Mickey Edwards outlines the essence of factionalism.
Opposing viewpoints cause the division of the original political parties and are reflected in the current battle for political power. Because of this battle, there are clear distinctions within unified and divided governments that prove to be either dangerous or beneficial.
The division between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists created 2 ideologies regarding the power of the central government. These ideas were solidified in the election of 1800 and the 12th Amendment. Disputes over economics, race, and fundamental rights dominated the original political parties, the Democratic Republicans and the Federalists, and have remained a source of contention.
Alexander Hamilton and the Federalists proposed a consolidation of the nation's debt to provide credibility for the new nation, while Thomas Jefferson and the Democratic Republicans vehemently opposed this. This has transformed into a debate today between Democrats and Republicans about whether debt over healthcare and college should be assumed by individual citizens or the federal government.
The 3/5 and fugitive slave clauses were invalidated by the 13th Amendment passed by Thaddeus Stevens and the radical Republicans to limit the power of the Democrats. Partisanship continues to be relevant in the passing of Georgia Senate Bill 202, which President Joe Biden cited as Jim Crow in the 21st century.
In 1848, the push to further fundamental rights for women coalesced at the Seneca Falls Convention. This created the modern feminist movement focused on the activity of women in the political sphere, leading to the Equal Rights Amendment, which was written in 1923 and revitalized through the 2017 ratification by Nevada.
Winner-take-all systems, such as single-party districts and the Electoral College, allow for the transition of political parties into factions, defined by James Madison as a number of citizens adverse to the rights of other citizens or to the permanent and aggregate interests of the community. In theory, when functioning to progress and create policy, the differences between a united and divided government become irrelevant.
Unlike divided governments, a significant amount of monumental change has been made under unified governments, including Reconstruction, the New Deal, and the 19th Amendment. Nonetheless, a unified government can lead to policies being passed that are altogether independent of the people, such as the Alien and Sedition Acts passed by the Federalists in 1798.
Seldom does a divided government pass crucial legislation, with the divided government from 1995 to 1996 enacting 136 fewer laws than the unified government just 1 year prior. Despite this, divided governments can provide for active checks and balances, as shown through the impeachment of President Clinton in 1998 and the 2 impeachments of President Trump in 2020 and 2021.
Because of the vast amount of issues the federal government must face, they are unable to obtain the efficacy of the more localized and specialized state governments. A divided or unified government within states does not prove to be as polar as it does at the federal level, shown through the Nevada Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard, passed by a divided government in 1997 and upheld and modified by every legislative session since.
In his book, Modern Democracies, Volume 2, Viscount James Bryce establishes that party organization is a natural and probably inevitable incident of democratic government. It has in itself nothing pernicious. Its evils have sprung from its abuses. As long as parties behave as policy promoters and not exclusive factions whose goal is to retain authority, the government can act as an entity by which the Constitution can be upheld. Thank you.
Let's pick up right there. So if parties are a natural outgrowth of our political system, how do we prevent them from becoming factions or from becoming bad actors in this system?
One way that we can help political parties stay as political parties and not be factions underneath a leader is by making sure that each party chooses a party platform. For example, the Republicans decided not to pick up a new platform for the 2020 election and instead chose to stick with their same platform from 2016, which then pushed the emphasis onto the leader and their candidate instead of the platform that the candidate was supposed to be promoting.
Go ahead.
Another way we can prevent parties from forming into factions is to also implement ranked choice voting, which helps a voter think more deeply about who they're voting for and not just focus on just 2 major candidates.
A substantive way that we can uphold the Constitution is to uphold our judicial branch of government. And we can do this by instituting 18-year term limits as proposed by California Representative Ro Khanna to ensure the insularity of the judicial branch and ensure that the Supreme Court is not a partisan institution.
So Owen, you had mentioned that regards to political parties, that they're not inherently, that if they are in the position of policymakers pushing policy, that's a good thing. But if they are if they're in the business of retaining authority, that can be a bad thing. What do you think they act as currently?
Undoubtedly, they act as a means to retain their own power. In 2016, with the vacancy of Justice Scalia, Senator Roy Moore announced that if Hillary Clinton wins, I will make sure with all my power that that seat remains open for the next 4 years. He wants to retain the power of the Supreme Court instead of the institutionalized branch that upholds our Constitution. This is undoubtedly factionism and not party politics.
Additionally, with the united government that we are seeing right now at the federal level, we are seeing the passing of legislation that could be viewed as nonpartisan, however, is in itself partisan, such as the passing of the bill to make DC a state in the House of Representatives right now could be seen as a benefit towards the constituents in DC. However, it is also seen as a means to retain power by Democrats because the representation coming from DC will likely be more Democratic leaning.
Additionally, in the past year of 2021, the January 6th insurrection was an opportunity of this faction-like group in the Republican Party to seize back some of their power after the election of 2020. President Dwight Eisenhower stated that if a political party does not have its foundation in the determination to advance a cause that is right and that is moral, then it is not a political party. It is merely a conspiracy to seize power. And this is exactly what we're seeing between this tug of war of power between candidates, but also the voters themselves.
To what extent would you say that there have been differences within the Democratic Party and within the Republican Party?
Well, within the Republican Party specifically, we saw the formation of a faction, like the possible formation of a new party within the Republican Party, where they saw more of a Trump-like leader to lead this faction, instead of taking up a platform like the rest of the Republican Party had already tried to assume.
As for the Democratic Party has a wide tent and has to appeal to a broad variety of voters, but it's struggling to retain its authority over all its voters. Nancy Pelosi in 2018 tried to dismiss the progressive movement by talking about progressive congressmen and congresspeople, that is only by like 5 people. She dismissed the movement by reducing them to only 5 members instead of understanding the notions behind their cause.
Thanks. So one of the outgrowths of our current system is that third parties have historically not been able to get much traction. Do you think that's a problem for our democracy? And what solutions would you propose to give third parties a better shot?
Yes, this is most definitely an issue, because you see groups of people who could have their ideas expressed through the government by voting for these third parties, but unfortunately they don't have the means to to gain traction in our political sphere and to maintain this traction as well.
Additionally, in 2016, we saw that Jill Stein was perceived as a spoiler, not a third-party alternative view. She was seen as a spoiler to the two-party system and was seen as the reason that Hillary Clinton did not beat President Trump in the 2016 election.
However, I would argue that the third parties and a multi-party system would better aid the hyperpartisanship we see today. James Madison in Federalist 10, he talks about the fluidity and functionality of government coalitions, and multi-party systems would better aid this us versus them system and aid the hyperpartisanship we see today.
If we want to institute a multi-party system, or just not ensuring that people vote for their conscience instead of party politics, is to institute ranked choice voting, as my colleague Soha pointed out earlier, which 11 major US cities have already done, and the state of Maine has done since 2018.
Do you think the country would be more democratic, less partisan, if we mandated that the president and vice president be from different parties?
No, the country would not be less polarized if we did this. This was done before the 12th Amendment, and Lincoln in 1860 attempted to do this by running with Andrew Johnson, who was seen as a Democrat, but this ultimately failed and caused the demise of Reconstruction when the nation was at ends against slavery and racism, and ultimately caused the radical Republican movement.
Following up on your last comment, can you explain how the political parties were divided before the Civil War and why?
The political parties were mainly divided into slavery, and the Democrats dominated the South and were propagating more of an agrarian society and more small localized state governments, while the radical Republicans especially were fighting for the rights of especially African Americans in the North. And may I continue?
Yes, you may
Okay.
finish your sentence.
Okay, thank you. We're fighting for the rights of African Americans in the North, and especially a more large federal government that had more outreaching abilities.
Thank you so much. Let's give the students a round of applause for all their hard work today. Thank you. And now the judges have some feedback for you.
All right, so very nice job. I thought the prepared remarks, I thought they did a very nice job of answering the question. I like how you showed examples from the founding and how they're continuing today. So like the Alexander Hamilton debt and the college forgiveness, college debt forgiveness. I thought that was a neat way of showing how the problems have or the factors have persisted, throughout history, and the 13th Amendment and the Georgia voting bills as another example. So I thought that was an interesting way of doing that. On the second sub question, again, I thought you guys did a good job of dealing with the pros and cons. You said, you did it very clearly, like here's why unified government works. You get the New Deal, but you also get the Alien Sedition Acts. And so I think, for every example you were providing the counter example, which was great. On our Q&A, again, I thought you guys were very responsive to the questions, and had good support for your answers. I'm just looking at my notes here, sorry. Yeah, and what I appreciated is you had enough confidence to kind of answer the question and stop. You don't have to, not every question requires 4 people to talk on it, right? If one of you can answer the question fully, or 2 of you can answer the question fully, that's great. And you did that a couple times, and that enabled us to get more questions in and have a more wide-ranging conversation. So very nice job, and good luck the rest of the day.
I actually want to echo pretty much everything Ben just said. You guys did a nice job. I really, found your prepared remarks easy to follow. I like the historical references, the tying to today. I too like the, when you talked about the benefits and pros and cons of the unified government. I found that it showed you thought it through, and I really enjoyed listening to that. And, from a stylistic standpoint, I liked how you all participated, were enthusiastic. So overall, very nice job.
I would echo the comments of Ben and Ollie both. I thought you also did a very nice job. I particularly like your approach to sort of combining the main question and the first bullet of linking the reasons for the creation of the original parties of the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans, and then tying each of those reasons to an issue that has persisted to the present, or persisted over the history of our country. And because of that approach, I think you had a more in-depth discussion of historical examples than we've seen so far today. And so I thought that was really well done. I liked your answers to the questions, except with regard to the issue of whether there should be 18-year limits for Supreme Court justices. I'm not sure that without more discussion that's sufficient to show that would lead to better quality decisions or less partisanship. It might, but it's not clear that that's the case. And then finally, with regard to differences within the parties, I'd like the reference to the Democrats having a big tent, which is the phrase that they've frequently used to show differences within their party. And so I think that was good. You might have mentioned that in the past there have been more conservative Democrats called the Blue Dog Democrats, and then there are now the Progressive Democrats who are considered ultra liberal. And then within the Republican Party, there's been the Tea Party, and then the division between Republicans who supported President Trump and those who opposed President Trump. But overall, I think you showed a really good knowledge of all aspects of the question, and so you should be pleased with your presentation this afternoon.
All right, great job, and good luck the rest of the day.
Thank you.